Joe Swinson.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker, for calling me to make my maiden speech. I would like to start by congratulating my fellow honourable members who have already made their maiden speeches so well today. We started with the honourable member for Nahilan and Nanir, and he made an excellent contribution. Fortunately, he was followed by those with constituency names somewhat easier to pronounce, namely the honourable members for Broxbourne, Welland Hatfield, Taunton, the Wrekin, Hammersmith and Fulham, South West Norfolk, who quite unusually got to make his second maiden speech, and of course my honourable friend for Cardiff Central and the honourable member for Putney. I've enjoyed listening to them all. It is a great privilege for me to represent East Dunbartonshire, where I was raised and have lived for most of my life. It is a seat which has many distinguished constituents, not least the Speaker of this very House. I am looking forward to getting to grips with my constituents' inquiries and problems. The Speaker has welcomed new members to this House, helpfully offering advice and a listening ear. I am in the fortunate position of being able to reciprocate this offer. Be it antisocial neighbours, harassment at work, difficulty with the landlord, through Hansard I would like to say to Mr. Speaker, my door is always open. East Dunbartonshire stands out among constituencies for electing women in their 20s. The previous young woman to represent East Dunbartonshire was Margaret Bain in 1974. Her maiden speech was described by William Hamilton, then member for Central Fife, as a rare treat, highly charged with non-controversial subjects. Perfect, I thought. No doubt it will be a helpful guide to me. However, you can imagine my surprise when reading the speech I discovered Mrs. Bain's call for the resignation of the Secretary of State for Scotland. The Right Honourable Member for Edinburgh South West may be pleased to know I plan to be less controversial today. The current boundaries of my constituency contain much of the previous Strathkelvin and Bearsden, and part of the old Clydebank and Mulgai. Tony Worthington, who stood down at the recent election, gave long service to the community of Mulgai, and in particular, I would like to pay tribute to his hard work in the area of international development. John Lyons was also active in promoting international issues. As the member for Strathkelvin and Bearsden, he kick-started a campaign locally for East Dunbartonshire to pursue fair trade status. I know John will be pleased that his efforts on this are paying off, and a steering group is now working towards making East Dunbartonshire a fair trade zone by 2006. Both these former Labour members should also be congratulated on their principled stance in opposition to the Iraq War. This ability to put conscience and constituency views before that of the party is valued by members of the public, even if it is less popular with the whips. Having mentioned Labour and SNP former members of my constituency, I should point out that the Conservatives also did hold this seat with Sir Michael Hirst in the 1980s. And in the Scottish Parliament, the independent Dr. Jean Turner represents Strathkelvin and Bearsden. So, really, it was about time they elected a Liberal Democrat. And I'm delighted to be the first Liberal Democrat to represent East Dunbartonshire, and indeed also the first Liberal Democrat member in West Central Scotland since Roy Jenkins in Glasgow Hill Head. East Dunbartonshire sits just to the north of Glasgow, stretching from the city boundaries to the foot of the beautiful Campsie Fells. I may be accused of bias, but I think it's a fantastic place to live. And the distinct areas which make up East Dunbartonshire retain a strong sense of community spirit. Situated just 20 minutes from the bustling cosmopolitan city centre of Glasgow, and a similarly short distance from the lush beauty of Loch Lomond, it really does enjoy the best of both worlds. Hence, it is a lovely place to visit, and I would encourage my fellow honourable members to do so. Though, maybe not with the purpose that several of the right honourable members from the benches opposite had when they visited earlier this year. People have been visiting for centuries. In 141 AD, the Romans arrived. They found the place so pleasing that they thought there was no need to go further north. Indeed, they built the Antonine Wall through the constituency, with forts in Bearsden, Cadder and Kirkintilloch. Bearsden was even treated to a Roman bathhouse. Now, the retention and protection of the vibrant community spirit in East Dunbartonshire will be a high priority for me. Central to strong communities are good local services, and that's why I've been particularly concerned at the recent closures of post offices in local areas such as Bearsden, Westerton and Auchinleirn. And in Bishopbriggs, the main post office has been under threat, though I am now optimistic that thanks to the support of thousands of local people, this facility will be kept within the town centre. Post offices often act as hubs for the community, and a trip to the post office is so much more than just making a transaction. Such social contact forms part of the glue that binds communities together. Economic regeneration can also support communities. Kirkintilloch, part of which is in my constituency, is looking forward to a multi-million-pound regeneration project which will deliver a state-of-the-art leisure centre by 2007, an arts and culture centre, health centre and better access to the countryside. And a new marina on the Forth and Clyde Canal will help to cement Kirkintilloch's reputation as the canal capital of Scotland. My hometown of Mulgai attracts visitors from all over the world, keen to embark on a challenging and dramatic long-distance walk. The West Highland Way begins in Mulgai and finishes 95 miles further on in Fort William, in the constituency of my right honourable friend for Ross, Skye and Lochaber. I was delighted to welcome him last month to the start of the West Highland Way, where we spoke with one of the many active local community groups, the Bearsden and Mulgai Ramblers. And next month, the West Highland Way is celebrating its 25th anniversary. It's almost as old as I am. And while I may just be older than the West Highland Way, I follow my honourable friend, the member for Brent East, in being the youngest member of this House. And I'm delighted that among the new faces in the House, there are several young MPs. It is a strength that the elected members span a spectrum of 55 years in age. I believe that a more representative House can help to make politics more relevant to the electorate we serve. Many people feel disconnected from politics, and nowhere is this more apparent than among young people. And addressing this will take a bit more than just baseball caps and text messages. But I would argue there's not a general lack of interest in politics. Rather, there's a lack of faith in the political process and in us politicians to address the issues people care about. People want to know the reasons why millions are dying from treatable diseases in Africa, and they want the world to stop sleepwalking into future environmental disaster. Britain's leadership of the G8 later this year will be a key test for many people who are still prepared to give politics a chance. I'm thrilled and honoured that the voters of East Dunbartonshire have chosen to give me a chance as their elected representative. And I am determined to represent all of my constituents tirelessly, whatever their politics, and even if they don't happen to be Speaker of this House.
Kelvin Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. Can I say, first of all, how much I enjoyed the speech of the new honourable member for East Dunbartonshire. I may say that age is obviously no barrier to being a very successful and fine Speaker in this House, but it is something of a surprise when someone many years younger than one's own children is the previous Speaker. But it was indeed a fine speech. I've only ever been to Kirkintilloch, I think, in her constituency, but it was a brief visit. I'd hope to... fellow Scott speaks from the benches here.